Hello friends, welcome back to my channel Let's Learn Literature. I am Shruti Singh and I am here again with a new video for all literature students. And our today's topic will be the age of Chaucer, that is from 1350 to 1400. And this is a very important topic and also the very first topic if you are about to study the history of English literature, because history like about Anglo-Saxons and Anglo-Norman period are not included in our subject and are also not asked in any exams. So from that point of view, this is the very first chapter and this is very important from the point of view of exams also. So here in this section we will be discussing the age of Chaucer in terms of his history, its major writers and their major works. So let's start with the history of the time. This age is best known for the two movements that happened during the 14th century. The first is a political and the second is a social movement. So the first political movement is the end of 100-year wars that started during the reign of Edward III, and this war shows the growth of English national spirit by the victories of Edward and the Black Prince on the French soil. During the 100-year wars, there was a rush in the national movement separating the people from lower classes and upper classes, or the poor and the courtmen. But during this era of war or 100 years of war, that distrust and that jealousy were momentarily sapped by the patriotic feeling. And after the end of this war, England was freed from the political bondage of France and to less person, but somehow the bondage of Rome also. And during this time, the French lost its official prestige as the national language, and English became the speech not only of the common people but of the courtmen and parliament as well. And the second, that is social movement, was that during the time of Edward's successor, that is Richard II, there was a growing mistrust between the higher class people and lower class people. And sometimes the movement was quiet and strong, as when Wycliffe arouses the consequences, and sometimes it was very violent, as the rebellion of Wat Taylor. But aside from these two movements, the age is best known for its stir of process and the trade also. So this is the very short history of the age. This is best known for the two movements, that is the end of the social war and the second growing mistrust between the upper class people or the courtmen or the lower class people or the peasants. Let's move on to the writers. So the age, as I've earlier mentioned in my videos, that in every age there are some writers who reflect their age the best in their work, and the age is known by their names. And there are five major writers from whom names the age of Chaucer is also known, and these were, the very first was Langdon, voicing against the social discontent, preaching the equality of man and dignity of labor. Then comes Wycliffe, the greatest of English social reformer. He translated Bible into English, and he led the Bible in the hands of people very easily. And he also translated Gospel into English, and to a very large extent New Testament also. Then there was Gower. Gower did not produce literary works, but he was a critic and was criticizing the discontent between the people and was very afraid of the consequences of those miscontent. And then there is Mendeville, who was a traveler, and whatever he wrote about his traveling. And then, above of all, there is Chaucer. Chaucer was a scholar, a traveler, a businessman, courtier, sharing in its all the stirring life of his times and reflecting in his literature the age as no other but Shakespeare has ever done in history. Now we will discuss these writers in detail. Here I am skipping the section of Chaucer because that will make the video very long, that I don't want to. But since he is very important, so I will upload this video as a part first of the age of Chaucer, and within 2-3 days I will upload the part 2 of this video that will be all about Chaucer. So you will get to know about Chaucer, his work, his life, all about him, and all was important thing. I will provide all the notes of the video or the lectures in my Instagram page, that is Let's Learn Literature, and I will give the link of my page in the description box. So if you want the notes of the lectures, you can get there. So now first we will be discussing about William Langdon. He born on 1332, but nothing is known about his death. Actually, a very little is known about Langdon. Probably he was a son of a poor free man and was born somewhere in Worcestershire. The first phase of his life, he spent like a shepherd as shepherds in field, but later he went to England with his family, that is his wife and his children, and there he worked as a clerk in the church. And but his real profession was that of a prophet. He is best known for his work called Pious Plowman, and this was a great success. And after this, he wrote another work that is Richard the Redless. It was a work against Richard too, but he could not complete the work, obviously because of the assassination of the king. And after 1399, he disappeared. Now, what is Pious Plowman? So, truth, sincerity, a direct and partial appeal to the conscience, and a version of it triumphs over the wrong. These are the elements of prophecy, and this was the main element of the poem. And for many centuries, the writers or the poets were busy in pleasing the upper class people, but here in this poem, Langland in the last section of poem directly appealed to the common people. And presently this poem is read in two distinct parts. The first one is the vision of Pious, and the second one is the series of visions called the search of Dobet and Dobes, that is, do well, better and best. Paris Plowman is an allegory of life. In the first vision, that is the field full of fog, the poet lies on Malvern Hills on a May morning, and a vision comes in his sleep. On the plain beneath him gathered a multiple of fogs, a vast crowd expressing the varied life of the world. All the classes and conditions were there, working men were there, noblemen were there, everyone was there. And in the second vision, that is of the seven deadly sins, allegorical figures but powerful, this is like the Pilgrim's Progress, like all the characters come to Pious to ask the way of truth, but he is plowing the half acres of his land, and he's busy in his own work. So this is all about the Pious Plowman. Now we'll study about John Wycliffe. So John Wycliffe was born on 1324 and died in 1384. He is foremost the most powerful English figure of the 14th century, and his main power was preaching his native land and his lollards. They had the power to stir the souls of the common folk and is well known in his history. Doesn't need any introduction. Wycliffe was a university man, a profound scholar, but then also he sides with Langland, and his interests are with the people rather than the privileged class about whom Chaucer write. Now, John Wycliffe is also known as the father of English prose, and this title he earned by translating the Bible into English. He translated the whole Bible into English and led the Bible in the hands of the people. And he also translated Gospel and some parts of the New Testament also. Now, Wycliffe's work are not read except by occasional study, but he is still occupying a very important place in place of our English literature. His translation of Bible was copied all over the England and just brought him a lot of success. Now the last is John Mendeville. Nothing much is known about him, but about the year 1356 there appeared an extraordinary book called The Voyage and Travels of Sir John Mendeville, written in the Midland dialect, which was that time becoming the literary language of the England also. For the many years, the author of this work was unknown to the people, and both the work and the author were a subject of endless dispute. This work is all about the fairy tales of travelers, and probably the original work was written in French, then translated into Latin, and then into English. But in whichsoever language it was written, it was extraordinarily successful, and nothing much except this is known about Mendeville. There are some important dates in the age of Chaucer. First, 1340, the birth of Chaucer. 1356, in this year appeared the first version of Mendeville Travels. From 1362 to 1395, Langland's Pure Plowman was there. In 1382, the first complete Bible into English was published. 1400, death of Chaucer. 1327, the reign of Edward III, and 1338 begin of the war of 100 years between the England and the French. So again I tell that I have skipped the chapter of Geoffrey Chaucer that I will be uploading within 2 days as part 2 of this video, and all the notes regarding the videos will be provided in my Instagram page that will be linked in the description box below. Do check. Thank you.